Hey everyone, and welcome back to ScrivTalk. I'm Leanna George, author and co-owner of Scrivenings Press, and today I am super excited to be joined by Heather Greer, a multi-published author whose stories thoughtfully explore faith, redemption, and hard-won hope. She is also the managing editor here at Scrivenings Press. So we are just going to act like today is like any other day where we talk back and forth like a regular office meeting. So Heather, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited about this book coming out and being able to just talk about it with people beforehand is a great opportunity, and I'm happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, great. Well, like she said, we're going to be talking about her women's fiction novel, Hope Even After, which is a powerful story that doesn't shy away from addiction, boundaries, and what it really looks like to love someone without losing yourself. Now, for those of you who don't know Heather, she writes stories, whether contemporary or historical, that center on faith lived out in everyday, often messy circumstances. Love that. Three of her novels have been finalists in the Salo Awards. And for those who don't know, that is like one of the top tier awards in Christian writing. So kudos to her on that. And her writing is known for creating deeply human characters who wrestle with truth, grace, and redemption. She's also a pastor's wife. So she is a very, very busy woman. So I'm excited to have her here because, like I said, in addition to all the other things she does, she also encourages and equips fellow writers to embrace the writing life with passion, purpose, and trust in the success God has planned for them. So let's get to know Heather story a little bit more because we know about her now. So it's been a while since you've written a fiction story. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done some novellas, but I think my last full-length fiction was probably Window of Opportunity, and that was a couple years ago. So
Yeah. How was it like to get back into the full book writing process?
I loved it. I loved it. The novellas are great. They're kind of a good palate cleanser for me because they tend to be a little lighter.
Hmm.
Um, Still the faith, still working through things and growing and things like that, but they aren't as life as some of the longer fiction. And so
Sure.
I really like getting back to that.
Yeah, I bet you did. I was thinking to myself, my goodness, it's been a while since she's written anything. So I'm excited that you're back writing full time, and I completely understand what you're saying because it's been since 2023 since my last book came out. Full book, yeah. I mean, my devotion, like you said, your nonfiction writing and your
Mhm.
novellas, but you do miss it. You really do.
Yes, you
As
do.
an author, you
Mhm.
missed it. So, well, let's talk about hope even after because it tackles some very tender but difficult themes.
Mhm.
What first sparked the story for for you, and why did it feel important to tell the story now?
There are a lot of things that went into why this story. Um, some of my own experiences with loved ones, family and friends. I've always I've directed youth camps
Hmm.
and youth groups and things like that. And so I've seen this struggle starting in the teenage years, and I know that's going into the adult years and then further on. And really, while we don't talk about it a lot, addiction numbers in our churches are huge.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to be talking about it and talking about it in more than just so and so's neighbor down the street is having problems, so let's put him on the prayer chain and, whatever. But like really tackling how, why, where encouragement is found, all of that. We
Yeah.
we need to be supporting our families in that way because this is what the families in the pew next to you are dealing with.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, and I've never had to deal with addiction, in my families or anything, but I think one of the reasons we don't talk about it is because as Christians, we aren't supposed to have those kind of problems if we're
Hmm.
really devoted Christians, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so we don't want anybody to think that we're not good when we're sitting in that pew every Sunday
Hmm.
morning, right? Or
Hmm.
we don't have a strong faith. And that's just not the
Right.
truth, right?
Mm-mm.
I mean,
Not at all.
we're all imperfect. We all have our flaws. All have our issues. right?
Hmm.
And so I'm really glad that you're bringing this to light because I don't think a lot of people do. I think it's important.
I don't think they do either. And I think when they do, a lot of what I had seen was, and then the person comes to know Jesus and everything is better.
Yeah,
And that's so discouraging to the person that's really going through. God can deliver. I
absolutely.
do not mean it in that way. I do not mean it like there are not those that once they come to faith, that addiction is broken and they never struggle with it again.
Yeah,
God is perfectly capable of doing that. But just like the things in our lives that we have as hangups
yeah,
that we come back to again and again and again, they may not be addictions in that sense, but just like those, these addictions can come back again and again and again.
yes,
And
right.
so happily ever after doesn't necessarily look like that Hallmark ending that everybody wants.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's beautifully said. Because we just nothing ever looks the way it seems. And I
Hmm.
think we just have to remember that about life and people, right? And
Hmm.
I think it's
Yes.
important. I think it's important for people to read this book because not only does it affect people going through addiction, but I think it can also help readers who, like you said, know the neighbor down the street that
Hmm.
we're praying for, right?
Hmm.
And help them to maybe understand what those people are going through and
Hmm.
maybe encourage them, hey, maybe they don't just need prayer, right? They do need prayer, but
Hmm.
not just that. Maybe
Hmm.
they need some time. Maybe they need someone to talk to. Maybe they need some help that maybe it will encourage them to go out and
Hmm.
help as well. Yeah.
Yes.
That's hard for the people living through it. And
Hmm.
yeah. So, okay. Well, let's talk about Daisy and Luke, your main characters. Um, they have been in a relationship before. They've been friends. There have been some romantic feelings, but they both carry some really deep wounds, some visible, some hidden, that really affect their relationship. So when
Hmm.
you're writing characters like these two and you're going through addiction, forgiveness, and faith, how do you balance honesty with hope? Like, how do you make it seem real?
I think part of it is realizing that, okay, yes, Daisy and Luke are fictional characters, but they are real people.
Mm.
And we so often vilify the person that's in an addiction
Hmm.
because we don't understand it.
Yeah,
Oh, if they're a drug addict, they must be the junkie out on the street that'll hold you at knife point to get money to go buy more drugs.
right.
You know, there's more to, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
Sure, of
that
course.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
definitely does happen.
Right.
but but just to show the people as more than that.
Yeah.
Show Luke. Luke is, I chose to use alcohol as the addiction of choice because honestly, and I'm not entirely sure why, but our churches tend to put up with alcohol a little easier than some of
Mm.
the other addictions that are
Yeah,
out there. I know it sounds strange, but it's true. You talk about a drug addict, and instantly the people around you are
true.
uncomfortable. You talk about a pornography addict, the people around you become uncomfortable.
Yeah,
But for some reason, alcohol doesn't seem to flip that switch as much.
right.
Um, so that's why I chose that particular one. But to show this character as a real person who's not a villain. He's not, yes, he's made some poor choices, and yes, his addiction does lead to more poor choices.
Mm.
Um, but he is still a person created in God's image.
Mm.
He's still a person that God loves. And so to take the truth of where he is and balance it with that's not all of who he is.
Mm.
That was really important to me because I didn't want people to go away thinking, oh, well, the addicts aren't worth anything or the addicts are whatever. And I didn't want them to look and see Luke as a villain
Mm.
because he's not.
Yeah.
and neither is the addict that is struggling down the street from you.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and as far as Daisy goes, you know, faith is very important to me.
Mm.
Faith is something that I believe should be lived out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is not a Sunday thing. It is not a part of who we are. It should be who we are.
Yeah.
And it's easy sometimes to look from that character's perspective and go, oh, well, they're that if they prayed enough or if they did this or whatever, they wouldn't be struggling. And that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Just because she's a person of faith, it doesn't mean there's not things she has to learn.
Right.
Doesn't mean there's not things that she has to struggle with and grow in. And so I wanted to take both of those, and I didn't want her to seem like Luke's savior.
Mm.
I wanted to make it clear there's only one savior, and it's not any of us.
Yeah. That's really good.
And so I wanted to be careful of, oh, and the Christian rides in and saves the day and, makes it all better. Just like I didn't want him to be that villain because he's not. I didn't want to put her in a position on a pedestal that she shouldn't be on either.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's really good. And I think that's important because that can be so easily overlooked when you're writing a
Mhm,
story. And so I think that's going to make the book all that more powerful, all that more powerful. But talking about Daisy being a savior, I want to talk about enabling because
mhm,
that is with an addict. And like I said, I don't know this firsthand. So I'm not trying to put presumptions or anything, but I know that for people who are dealing with an addiction or people who love an addict,
mhm,
it can be hard
mhm.
when it comes to enabling, right? And we
Oh,
want to
yeah.
save them ourselves. We will do everything we can. Um, so that becomes one of the strongest threads in the novel is Daisy learning to love Luke without enabling him. So
Mhm.
why was it important for you to show boundaries as part of a faith-filled response instead of a just opposite of grace?
Love does set boundaries. Love has set boundaries from the beginning.
Hmm.
Our example of love is God, and God set boundaries. And it's not a free for all. It's not, oh, love lets this happen and lets this happen. Love, the real definition, and we are so far off the definition of love in our society today,
Yeah.
is wanting God's absolute best for the people that you come in contact with.
Hmm.
That means in how you think about them, in how you interact with them, in how you help them, in everything we do.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean hiding truth.
Yeah.
And when we hide that truth, we enable.
Yeah.
Um, when we maybe even speak the truth, but then don't set those boundaries that say, hey, this is the struggle and this is what we need to do to protect what we have. And we talk about her loving Luke, and she does. But it's more than romantic love. It's
Hmm.
it's in fact, and it's not romantic love because she knows she can't have romantic relationship
Yeah.
with him in his addiction, with him without faith,
Yeah.
that this would not be the right place for her. So she has to set boundaries for herself, and then in their friendship together,
Mm.
she has to come to a place of setting those boundaries because that's how she's really going to love him. And that's what's going to help him um, find the strength when those temptations come.
Yeah.
To know that there's something there, there's an accountability there.
Yeah.
And so learning the difference between setting boundaries and controlling,
Hmm.
or just enabling to calling it love and letting it do whatever,
Yeah.
and ending up enabling. Those are important themes in any recovery, whether it is alcohol or pornography or drugs or gambling or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, I've had to deal with some of this stuff in my own life.
Hmm.
And in addition to that, seeing it in, like I said, the youth groups that I've been in. You mentioned my husband is a pastor, but he's also been in the alcohol and drug addiction counseling world from the entire time we've been married.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't just pull from my personal experiences.
Hmm.
I also pulled from his his experience with work. I pulled from different books and things like that that I read to try and solidify and research that I did on the different programs and things like that as well.
Yeah. And that's so important, right? Because we know that there are so many people out there who've gone through the recovery process, who've lived
Mhm,
with an addict, and they will be the first to tell you that's not how it works. That's not
mhm,
real, you know? And
mhm,
so I think it's good that you did the research, but that you used your own experiences to, make this seem even more real, which I think is so important. But I want to go back to the boundaries real quick because I think boundaries there were two things I was thinking about. One, I think we always think of boundary in a negative connotation, right?
mhm,
Boundaries are bad. Um, and yes, they keep the bad out, right? I have a fence in my front
mhm,
yard, right? Because I
mhm,
don't want, you know, people coming in that shouldn't be,
mhm,
right? But I also have a boundary because I don't want my dog to get out, right?
mhm,
Because he is good and I want him to be, have a not escape and have a limit. So I think we sometimes only see boundaries in the negative and we forget that
mhm.
there is good behind the boundary, right? I
We
mean,
see them as rules.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
like
Mhm,
just like with God, right? You said he is love. We know that. And from the very beginning, he set that boundary. Do not eat from
mhm,
the tree of knowledge. And so right from the beginning, he's showing us we have to set boundaries. There are
mhm,
boundaries to the world, and they work better. I think also though, too, as women, we are very bad about setting boundaries for ourselves,
mhm.
right?
Yes.
Um,
Mhm,
I think it's so, I mean, I'm just awful with them, right? I'll say, no,
mhm.
I'm not going to do that. And I'll turn around and, okay, well, I'll do that for you. Thing.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
we're really bad about the boundaries we set for ourselves. So I love that you are exploring those things in your story because I'm,
Mhm,
I'm hoping what we want with our stories as authors is not to just take people on a journey. We do,
mhm,
and we want to entertain them,
mhm.
but at really the core, we want them to be transformed, right?
Yes.
Want them
Uh-huh.
to be transformed. And I think that hopefully by bringing these things up, um, that they'll see that through your story and through your words. And I also know that I hope it gives encouragement to the people who are living currently with an addict.
Yes.
And,
Mhm,
because we feel bad when we can't help that person, but we know we
mhm,
can't help them for a reason because, like you
mhm.
said, it's enabling, right? And so
Right.
it's just it's just a struggle. It's so hard, and I just can't imagine the difficulty it must be. But for you to make it so real, I think is what's really going to transform and impact people at a different level.
That
So
is my prayer. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about faith because we know it's important to you, it's important to your readers, and it's important in this story for Luke. But
Mhm,
like you said earlier, faith doesn't look like what we think always. It doesn't think, well, the minute we accept Jesus, everything changes and like this fairy world opens up to us, right?
mhm,
And his story unfolds slowly and imperfectly, um, which I think is very real. So,
mhm.
what do you hope readers take away about, relapse, God's patience, surrendering, to all of everything that you're dealing with to the Lord?
I hope they see themselves.
Mm.
As strange as that may sound to some, because they're like, "Oh, I've never struggled with addiction. I've never had this urge to be." I mean, okay, first of all, nobody ever starts off, "Ooh, I'd like to be
Yeah.
addicted,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I don't think, I mean, other than a book addict, That would be the only exception.
Yes, yes. Well, that one's fine.
Yeah.
But but I hope they see themselves in the sense, maybe not in the addiction itself, but we all struggle with certain things.
Yeah.
We all struggle with certain thoughts that are not of God, ideas about ourselves,
Yep.
um, image issues or sins. It may be a sin that's struggled with. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But I want them to look at Luke and not just see an addict on the road to recovery.
Mhm.
I want them to see themselves. I
Mhm.
want them to see, you know, Luke really isn't that far from me.
Mm.
His struggle may be a different one than mine, but how often do I fall and have to get back up again?
Yeah. Yeah.
How often do I say, God, never again?
Yeah.
And then I again.
Yeah.
We've seen it. It's a truth that's from Genesis through
Yeah.
Revelation. It's there, and we are no different.
Yeah.
Um, we have those struggles, so that's what I really hope they see, and then to be able to not only look at it and take hope for themselves,
Mhm.
but to also be able to look at someone that is struggling with an addiction
Yeah.
and have a little more understanding, have a little more grace, a
Sure.
little more mercy
Yeah.
in trying to help them and understand where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And not, I think the important thing here is to remember not to fix them, right?
Mm-mm.
Because
You can't.
you can't, right?
Mm-mm.
So I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I have compassion for that neighbor down the street. And let me go over there and tell them what they need to do, right? Or
Mhm.
tell them, that, and that's not
Mhm.
what we want from people. We want people, and I'm sure you especially, is like you said, to be able to understand what that person or that family is struggling with
Mhm.
and to be able to help them, but not in a way that you think, well, I'll just go over there and tell them if you need to pray more, you need to, stop doing this. You need to bring him to church,
Mhm.
it's important that we don't try to fix the situation to make them the good
Right,
person again,
right.
because that's just not, that's not the issue, right?
We
It's
need to
the issue.
support them
Yes.
in a godly way where
Hmm.
they're at.
Yes.
And you can't fix somebody in addiction. They have that's one of the early lessons that's learned is they have to be at a place
Mm.
where they see the need
Yeah.
before they can take those steps forward.
Yeah.
You can't force people to see that need any more than you can force them to see their need for salvation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It works the same way.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that support, because we all know it takes a village sometimes, right?
Mhm.
And you have a lot of support in the story, right? You
Mhm.
have the Celebrate Recovery to Jill's support group.
Mhm.
So there's a vital community that plays a role in this healing. Can you talk about the importance of showing recovery and growth within relationships rather than just isolation?
We're made for community.
Mm.
God made us for community. Even introverts like myself are made for community. And and he
You
has set it
sure?
up. He has set it up so nicely in the sense that in our faith walk, we realize that those who have been through things are there. There's the verses about crying with those who are in mourning and rejoicing with those who rejoice, and learning from those who have gone before. It refers to it in like learning from your elders of faith and things like that.
Mhm.
And so we see this principle, and it's a very true principle in recovery as well. Any sin, any struggle, any thing that we're dealing with in the negative, that we're ashamed of, that we're hurt by, that we're embarrassed by, all of those things thrive. in darkness and in secret.
Mm, yes.
Because in darkness and in secret is where those voices can say, but you know, if anybody ever found out this, they wouldn't want you in the pew next to them.
Mm,
They
yeah.
wouldn't want you in life next to them.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it together. You've got to, especially in today's society where everything is so social media perfect.
Yeah.
We try and hide those things, our vulnerabilities.
Right.
And in doing so, that voice of shame, that voice of worthlessness,
Hmm.
that voice of humiliation, of fear just grows.
Yeah.
And so, just like when we learn in scripture that it's in confessing our sins, which I'm not saying all of this is sin, not sin, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm saying any of these things, it equates to the same thing as when we have these sins in our lives and we confess them, that's when we find the freedom.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying, oh, if you confess that you're an addict, then all of a sudden you're not going to be an addict anymore.
Yeah.
But we find that a little bit more accountability.
Hmm.
We find lack of, those things that we're scared of. We actually find freedom from those and those voices.
Mm,
And will there be people that look down on? Yes.
yeah.
Will there be people that treat differently? Yes. Um, but it's not necessarily going to be as bad as what's in the mind, as what we tell ourselves in secret.
Yeah.
And so when we share these things, we actually find other people who have struggled in the same ways,
Hmm.
and they can help us understand things that we didn't understand before.
Yeah.
They can tell us and reassure us that what we're going through and facing is normal, that we're not losing our minds,
Yeah.
that even at times when other people who've not dealt with things before would come and go, oh, but that you don't want to do that, you don't want to, whatever.
Yeah.
The ones who've been there before can come beside us and say, listen, I know their intentions are great, I know it comes from a place of love, but they don't have practical experience with this, and so their understanding of how this actually works in the physical world
Yeah.
may be limited. You're
Right.
doing great. Keep going.
Yeah.
Having people beside us is so, so important.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. Because it's just it truly does make a difference. And people want to help, right?
Mhm,
Um, they may not always know the right thing, but I believe that God doesn't allow us to have hurt in our lives that we can't use. And there's a verse that says
mhm,
that, right? That we can't
mhm,
use to help somebody else in their hurt.
mhm,
And so I think it's really important. Um, and we have to be careful, right? Because like you said, it could be easy for us to say something and try to be helpful. But unless we've actually walked down that path. And so maybe some people reading this, it will really resonate with them to help
mhm,
them encourage to be a community for somebody who is helping. Because like you said, we're not meant to be and live this life alone or go through these struggles alone either.
mhm,
So yeah. Well, let's talk about struggles. I want to ask you because you had some really intense moments in this book. Okay. You
mhm.
have some really hard, emotionally deep stuff. Was there a scene that was especially difficult for you to write?
I don't think there was one. The ones that, once you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about, but the ones you would think would be the hardest
Uh,
were actually some of the easiest ones for me to write.
really? Okay.
Yes, yes. Um, for me, it was that extra care to strike that balance that we talked about earlier.
Hmm.
I wanted to show all the reactions, the struggle with the enabling, the
Hmm.
people who maybe will look and judge a little harsher,
Yeah.
the people who even during recovery process have a hard time going, okay, how much do I give this person another chance or not?
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to show the full person of the one in recovery,
Mm,
and the struggle and the hope and all of it together. And I think that was probably the hardest part, was making sure that I put all of those things in there
hmm.
so that people can find themselves.
Yeah.
So that people, and you may not like yourself
Yeah.
if you find yourself, depending. Um, you may look and go, "Ooh, I'm that one, and I don't like that."
Yeah.
And you know what? That's great too. That's why that person's there.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the hardest time, to make everybody real
Mm,
and whole
yeah.
and relatable.
Mm,
I wanted each person, no matter their place in the story, to be relatable to the people that are reading it.
yeah. And there are probably going to be a lot of people who are like me and haven't had that issue. Well, their eyes will be opened, right? But then
Mhm.
again, there are going to be some people who are going through loving someone that's an addict. So what do you want to say to a woman who's loving someone through addiction or deep brokenness? What is it you hope to convey for that person?
To be honest with yourself,
Hmm.
depending on where you are in the journey, you may have a choice whether you face that journey or not.
Hmm.
And in that time, it is especially important to be completely open and honest with God and with the person in your life that's dealing with that.
Mm.
To find that mentor, for lack of a better word,
Hmm.
that's been there, that can kind of help you work through the questions and the situations and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're already there, and this is where life has taken you and what you're dealing with, and it's before or it's after decisions have already been made, there is still hope, there is still healing, even if the person doesn't realize their need for recovery yet.
Mm. Yeah.
You can still find help, support, encouragement through people who are walking through it as well. So just find your support group, find your people or
Yeah.
person. It may be
Yeah.
one individual, it may not be a group,
Yeah.
but find that support.
Mm. That's yeah, so important, so important. And I do hope that they will reach out to you after they've read the book, because I know that you'll offer that support as best you can, even virtually.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, because I think we as writers, we want to know, is it having an impact? Is it making a difference? And it's definitely a powerful story. It's definitely a powerful story. Now that you've written something that is pretty heavy,
Mhm.
um, where's your writing going to go now? Or how has
Currently,
it
I'm
affected you as a
working.
writer?
Currently, I'm working on a contemporary romance retelling of The Wizard of Oz. So
Oh,
I'm completely okay. Let's go lighter.
yeah.
I mean, it will deal with um, returning home, of course,
Mhm.
because it's The Wizard of Oz, but returning home in the sense of you have left your first love
Mm,
from the letter in Revelations.
yeah.
And so I'm having fun with that. People go, a romantic? Who is she going to be having a romance with? You know, these
The
people
scarecrow, the
like,
lion.
is it the Scarecrow? He's like a middle-aged farmhand. No, no. No, first of all, that's the movie.
Yep,
But it's a retelling. I get to do what I want with these characters.
that's right. That's right.
So no, it's not going to be creepy and icky. But I tell them I don't know yet. I am not a plotter.
Mm.
I am a pantser, and so they haven't told me who the love interest is
Yes.
yet.
Oh, that sounds like a fun read. I can't wait to see that one. So hopefully, how far along are you right now?
I'm only on chapter 2. I've had like some pretty big changes in the last year in my schedule in my life.
What, becoming a managing editor or a small publisher? I don't know what that could have done for you.
So it's kind of like really hit the brakes
Yeah,
on my writing. But I'm looking forward to some time getting away to focus on that and that alone. So
good, good. Well, I know that we'll all be looking forward to that. And I know, and I pray that hope ever after, even after, sorry, I can never remember. I want to say happy ever after, right? You're happily ever after.
that was why I wrote it what that's why I titled it what I did.
Yeah,
Because happily ever after becomes hope even after when
yeah,
you're dealing with
yeah,
the one in recovery.
yeah. And so I know that people are going to want to read this, they're going to want to share it, and then they're going to want to read more of your stuff. So let's tell the audience how they can connect with you, the best way to connect with you, or how can they find you?
My website at heathergreer.com.
Okay.
And then I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. You will find me on X, but not very often. I really use that only when I write reviews for a couple of blog tour companies. And so those I will post on X, but that is like the only time I'm on there. But Facebook and Instagram, I'm on fairly regularly. I have a monthly newsletter, which right now, if you sign up for the monthly newsletter, um, I even have a short story related to my book, Cake That.
Okay.
And so that's kind of a freebie for signing up for my newsletter. And I'm also on Pinterest. So if you're one of those people who like to get like the behind the scenes, ooh, what was she thinking about this character? What was she thinking about this?
Yeah.
You can go to my Pinterest boards and you can see, oh, Hope Even After. Let's look at who she thought personified this character well, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my Pinterest is if you're into the creative side of it
Mm,
and the what was the author thinking,
yeah.
that's where you go for that one. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great way to, because when I go there and I look at the picture, I'll be like, that's not what I thought he looked like. Because that's the beauty of storytelling. We can
uh-huh,
all figure
uh-huh.
out in our own heads, right? All right.
Oh
Well, great.
yeah.
I will make sure that the links to everything you just said, maybe mine is the X, is in the show notes below. But Heather, thank you so much. This has just been so much fun talking to you about non-work stuff. Um,
Sort of.
or
I mean, it's just a different side of it.
right. Well, I was going to say we're both writers, so that still is work for us. But let's say non-publishing stuff. How about that?
Yes, yes, that works.
Yeah. But thanks for sharing your heart and this beautiful, honest story with us. Hope even after is a powerful reminder that redemption is rarely tidy, but it's always possible. And I hope you will pick it up. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and of course, Scrivening's Press website and Heather's website as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And then don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on one of our Script Talk interviews where we try to find the story behind the story of our great writers and be able to share them with you. So until next time, happy reading. Bye bye.
Bye.